Sports Interaction, Canada Sportsbook.
Salut tout le monde. Hey, everybody. How's that for the perfect game, right? They came close, they battled, but the Montreal Canadiens eventually lost 3-2 to the LA Kings despite a Herculean effort by our friend Jacques Alain. All right, so I am Marc Dumont. I am your host, and I just ate a grapefruit. So, late game. I appreciate everyone in the chat. Sérieusement, like it's genuinely appreciated. We're going to get right into it because we have an excellent host. He's just okay. The guest is great. Patrik Bexell from over at Eyes on the Prize. Friend of mine, former colleague, and he'll give us the lowdown on European prospects. So, as per usual, we got someone in Brisbane. Hey, where are everyone? I'm in Montreal, and clearly, I'm nice and awake here because I'm making a lot of sense. Let me know where you are in the chat because I love hearing when people around the world come join us. All right, so we're gonna get into it in just one moment. We're gonna talk about Gurianov, and then maybe more Gurianov, and then maybe more Gurianov. But seriously, how great has he been so far? We'll talk about Mike Matheson, Jake Allen, the NHL trade deadline, and the prospects playing overseas, the ones we don't get a chance to watch. This is where Patrik is a Viking. So before we get into that, a quick word from our sponsors. Want to bet? You can do it at Sports Interaction Canada Sportsbook. Hockey season's well underway. Soccer's going strong and baseball's just around the corner. You can bet pregame, live in play. There's prop bets made for Canadians by Canadian Sports Interaction. Makes it easy to deposit, play, and cash out. Join now and see all sports betting has to offer. Head to sportsinteraction.com/SDPN. That's sportsinteraction.com/SDPN. Ontario only, 19 plus. Please play responsibly. We're going to go ahead and bring in my friend, Patrik Bexell. How's it going, buddy?
I'm fine, thank you. You know, it's 7:15 in the morning here, and I have a day to study for my teaching degree.
Jeez, so that's the dedication of Patrik here. You know, I complain when I have to wake up and watch Arsenal like at 7 a.m. on a Sunday, but this is a little bit worse. That's dedication. But we love that you took the time, and we love even more the people that joined us. We have people coming from Kelowna. Okay, we got Brisbane. We got people from around the world. You right now, where are you, Patrik?
I'm just south of Gothenburg, where, you know, they just released the World Junior Championships tickets yesterday.
Oh, yeah?
So it's a city called Varberg. So essentially, I have an hour into Gothenburg to watch Frölunda, where Fredrik Dikau plays. And I got an hour and 10 down to Ängelholm, where Adam Engström plays. So,
my favorite.
I'm smash in the middle.
My favorite, Adam Engström. And we're going to get into that because I love what he's doing in Europe, but I also love that it's not getting too much hype. So people aren't getting their expectations up just yet. So we also have people from Mississippi here. Ryan's from Mississippi, and Alyssa is watching from Taiwan with her boyfriend. And Aurora, Ontario, I know that quite well. Okay, that's in my neck of the woods, not too far from, not too far from Ottawa. So as James says here, James, happy to have you back in the chat. This is Patrik Bexell, the Eyes on the Prize legend. So before we get into all that, I've known you for quite a while, Patrik. I trust your opinion. You tend to feed Montreal media all the information about prospects. And they just started giving you credit, which is nice. But let's talk about someone that isn't a prospect. He scored his first goal tonight. It's been a fun audition. The sample size is so small, but what's your call on Denis Gurianov?
Isn't he a prospect, really?
Well, 25.
I mean,
that's
yeah,
old, right?
He's 25, but you know, he's still got some development to do, and I like him. I think in some ways, in the best of ways, I think he's a Josh Allen replacement, which isn't bad at all. Or Josh Anderson, sorry.
Yeah,
I'm still on the Allen. You know,
well, if you replace Josh Allen,
second period,
that's even better. You know, he's in for more money. Yeah.
Yeah. But he got the same kind of speed. He got the skating. He's that Russian guy that has. I mean, like, they're born on skates, most of them. So, and it comes from usually practicing on bandy rinks, which is the other weird sport. It's like football on ice, but with sticks and small ball, which you can never see on TV anyway.
That sounds hold on. This isn't just a drunken thing that people do after a long night of ice fishing. This is actually a sport.
Yeah, and usually Russia and Sweden meet in the final because they're like Norway, and sorry, Rolf, because I know you're listening to this as well. Rolf Ulvemoen in Oslo. Norway isn't very good, and Finland usually end up third. So it's like those four countries.
Oh, I was gonna say usually Russia doesn't try to mess with Finland when it comes to snow and ice. So maybe that's not the reason there. Okay, so before we get into your call on Gurianov, we have David says he's watching from Ontario's capital, Toronto. So that's rough for David. We also have someone from a Tragically Hip song right here, Bobby Cajun. We have James is watching from Bob Cajun, and the cool part about Bob Cajun is that Tragically Hip really just wanted a name that like fit with their song, but it goes down Legendary City. And we have just a ton of people from Ontario. This is my hometown, or no, my home province. So right now the Canadiens are obviously selling. Gurianov's going to get that great opportunity. How much production do you have to see from him to convince him? Because that qualifying offer is big. It's a $3 million qualifying offer. Do you necessarily sign him if he plays well, or do you try to negotiate a situation like they did with Rem Pitlick, where they dropped him and then they signed him right afterwards? Like, do you even risk his contract expiring?
Yeah, I think I'll sign him. I like what they're doing. They're putting him with Suzuki. I think he needs skilled players around. It draws him. I was doing some notes, and I'm a professor by trade and all that.
You look like a professor right now. You I feel like I'm looking for pieces of my uniform, my old school uniform. Like, am I in trouble, Mr. Bexell?
No, not at all. You're always the boss, Marc. You know that. And but I'm thinking. I'm thinking back to when I started Eyes on the Prize, and we had Jack Han writing for us, and he spoke about his time with the women's team at, was it Concordia or was it Montreal University in McGill?
It was it wasn't it was the Redmond, or no, it was McGill then. Yeah, sorry, that's not the name anymore. I apologize for saying. Yeah, I believe it was McGill's women's team. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, or Concordia. Either way, either it's just down the street from me, or in the richer part of town.
and he said you start a player on the first line, and if it doesn't work, you move them down. And I think this is what they're doing with Gabriel. And I think it's really, really smart. And he needs those kind of players. I love his size. I love his skating. I love his speed. People that know me knows I always have a soft spot for Russians, because I watched the Big Red Machine when I grew up in the 80s.
Yeah.
And Larionov, Krutov, Fetisov, Kasatonov, and
now that was art. That was almost what Arsenal was doing for football. You know what I mean? It was art. It was pure art. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm a fan. Sometimes, and I'm trying to think about it, because I wrote that down as well. Seeing the highlights, because this was the first real game I saw. I saw the highlights of last game, and I think the fact that I don't know if his brain is working too fast for his hands, or if it's his hands and feet that are moving too fast.
I think it's the latter. I think it's the latter. Yeah.
And the big question is, and you take that gamble, you sign him to a 2-year contract or something like that, and you take that gamble to see what Adam Nicholas and Martin St. Louis can do with that, because he has all the tools. He just needs to put them together. Even if he's 25, it's not the end of the world. He's going to peak in about 2 years, so then what you're having. In that time. And no, I'm a fan, and I like the way they're doing it, putting him on the top line, making him feel comfortable, doing what Jack Han, our former colleague and friend, says.
Yeah, well, it's funny because I referenced that too as well, because he always says, place the player alongside the players you want him to become. So you put him beside top line players, because let's be honest, starting on the fourth line is one of the toughest things to crack a lineup. I mean, veterans struggle on the fourth line. So yeah, great usage by St. Louis. And I haven't looked up the ice time tonight. Someone in the chat's going to do it, because they're amazing. But I'm guessing it's probably around 17 minutes. His last game, 17 minutes. That's the most he's played all year, those 2 games. So you're absolutely right, setting them up for success. Oh, and it was from Burlington. Lauren's from Burlington, which is also home of, isn't that where Josh Anderson's from? So speaking of Josh Anderson, hey, he's been looking great in the last 2 months. Like, let's be perfectly honest, Patrick. I've criticized him for consistency, for game to game. Either he's amazing or he isn't. Has his resurgence of late, and we saw him play quite well today, maybe convinced you that the Canadiens shouldn't maximize this asset? Because I know most analysts say trade him. But he's starting to show, why so many GMs in the league are interested in bringing him on their team.
It depends on what you want to do next year. I think it all comes down to that. But in a way, you're looking at maximum value right now. I don't think the maximum value will be at the deadline, at the draft line, or just after. So I think you would want to maximize it right now.
Yeah.
I don't think it will happen though.
No, eh? Huh. No. Okay, well, we're gonna get into the trades, but I wanted to bring that up just because Gurianov, if it goes well, as you mentioned earlier, kind of fits in that mold of Anderson. So you're almost bringing in a younger, it's more soccer style where you sign a young player and you're like, okay, in a couple of years, well, he'll
you're going to become
him.
This.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So Lauren, right away, money on there. 1852 for Gurianov. So 1706 was the most he played all year. The first game.
He had one game on where he played in a what do you call it, the fourth period. In Dallas.
Overtime. Okay. Yeah. Well, both these games now almost 19 minutes, which is such a refreshing change. Okay, so I have a question here for you about how excited are you when you see a guy like Mike Matheson? Because listen, you know me, big Petrie guy, big Petrie guy, big fan of him. I know it was rough at the end, but a lot of the criticism there was a bit unfair. It's really tough being away from your family during the pandemic, especially when there's health issues. Trust me on this. Like, it's really, really difficult. But Mike Matheson, I mean, he doesn't care about the tank. He don't believe in no tank. He's out there every day giving his all. And a lot of people think, hey, it's like Anderson, time to cash out on him. I'm strongly against that idea. Where are you with the Mike Matheson dossier?
No, I like Matheson. He's grown into a player I really like, I respect. In some ways, he plays in the SHL. They don't care about, because we have regular relegation here.
Okay.
And so the bottom teams, they max out come deadline, whereas in obviously in North America, it's a difference. But he plays hard, and I think it's really good for the young players to have someone there.
Yes.
I'd rather have David Savar go or just because there are also we haven't spoken about Engstrom, but there are other players coming through as well with Mayu, Hudson,
and then you have guys like Struble, and then
there are other players coming in, so you're gonna have that. The defensive line is stacked, and not to jump into anything in particular or too fast here, but I was just thinking last night that if Montreal ends up picking around 6 to 8 to 10 with either Florida's pick or their own, will they pick Sandin Pellikka? Probably not, because look at the D line that they have going, the pipeline. It's incredible.
I understand what you were saying, Patrick, but here's where I go against it, because at one point the Montreal Canadiens, they had just drafted Nathan Beaulieu, Magnus Nygren, Eric Nystrom was a forward, but anyways, there was Joshua Didier, there was the guy who was the leading scorer for in the KHL for defenseman for 5 years. Like, they had so many defensemen, and they had not Mike Komisarek, but his Tenorti as well. And everyone's like, we never have to draft another defenseman. And Beaulieu's the only one that kind of made it. I think Nygren probably would have had a decent career if Hamilton was a little safer back then. But
and obviously the concussion that took a year and a half to heal up properly.
Yeah, no, exactly. But it's funny when you look back at that Nygren thing, people are saying, oh, he's just pouting. No, being injured, again, away from your family and all that, it's not a great situation, mental health.
And also, it was one of the first podcasts I think I did when you were the boss of Ice on the Prize. I spoke with Nygren, or if I did it as a write-up article, where he said, I know I got hit. The glass was very thick in the Coliseum, and it was stiff. And I still went out and played, and I don't know how I played the last part of the game.
Yeah. So your brain actually, it's people think that you forget. Your brain actually stops recording in those situations.
Yeah.
You know. So yeah. Oh, Trizak, money on the spot. It's Darren Dietz that was and then there was other guys too. Like there was Greg Patterin, Matt Ellis. It was not right.
We have that guy that we always thought about in the top 25 under 25, Lennart as well.
Yeah. Well, the thing is right now, and we're looking at the list, man. There's Hudson, Mailloux, and we missed a bunch though, right? I'm forgetting, but we have William Trudeau, you have Petteri Nurmi, which we're gonna get into, and all the guys in the NHL are about 20 to 22. So you need some veteran presence there, and that's where Mike Matheson provides. And I'll be honest, you need guys to help launch, or not launch, but in transition for Cole Caulfield. Like, I understand the idea of tearing everything down to the studs, but you can't have Cole Caulfield and Nick Suzuki with no one in the back end that can actually help them in transition, right? Like part of the development.
Then you become sort of, a laughing stock.
Yeah, well, part of the development is also success for your star players now, right? So I'm Paper Dolls mentions here. It's our friend Kay. She's like, she doesn't want Logan Stanley. I'll tell you right now, Logan Stanley should have been a 5th round pick. It's it's as simple as that. But I don't think the Canadiens are looking for picking up guys along those lines. And we're going to get into some trades. So in just one moment, we're going to talk about the trades. But what to do with Jake Allen? Because let's be honest, he's enjoying his best hockey since he's joined the Canadiens. He almost stole a game today. Would you keep him around? Because, Samuel Montembeault obviously has shown a lot this year. But Jake Allen's had a nice little resurgence. Is he a guy that you'd want to also keep around just for an insurance policy?
I think, if you look at it, Deschamps has a bad year or transition year in SHL. Primo still hasn't really convinced us. He has had a good playoff run with the AHL team. Verbatic and who's the last one? I always forget because I remember Verbatic. Dobesh.
Yeah, my favorite, my Ohio State Buckeyes buddy. Yeah.
And none of them are ready yet. You could obviously pick up a goalie in summer because there will be a market for them. But if you can get someone that has gelled with the team, that you might want to, you have a tandem of 2 rather than 1A or 1 and a 2. So you have a 1A and 1B that knows where the team is going, and maybe you could cash in on the deadline next year with one of them. I'll keep him around, definitely.
I'm not too worried. I know he's played above his head this year, but he's not a huge risk overall for the tank, in my opinion. I know a lot of people are really worried about that, but I'd be almost embarrassed to run a team like Chicago right now. Honestly, I feel like I know what they're doing, but it's
Arizona.
Well, and it's so unfair for Coyotes fans because they've been through so much. They're like the Buffalo fans but just hockey, because in Buffalo they've gone through it all. Well, especially with the Bills. Well, that's Arizona. But let's be perfectly honest now. Like, if your grandparents are in a retirement home right now, call them. They might have been traded to the Arizona Coyotes. Like, it's absolute. It's a joke. Let's be honest, it's a joke. And when we talk about guys, and we're going to talk about Monahan in a moment, when they released that memo saying they're going to scrutinize the LTIR, like, that was the ultimate BS memo they've ever sent out. And it's quite clear that they're okay with Arizona being it's the trash can of the NHL,
or the hospital.
Yeah, but more of the sundown community. They call it. It's a vibrant. It's not a retirement home. It's a how do they market it again? Either way, it's a little bit embarrassing for the NHL. So Kay is here again because she's my producer now, and she's reminding me to ask everyone to like the stream, subscribe. Tomorrow we have a trade deadline show. So we're going to go on after the trades just to kind of analyze everything. So make sure to subscribe to the Steve Dangle Podcast Network YouTube channel and set those reminders because we're going live tomorrow. We have people all across every single Canadian city, so it should be a lot of fun. Okay. Oh, we got someone from Denmark. I was just saying I don't know if this is going to resonate with anyone else, but me and Patrick know it. When I play Crusader Kings 2, I always start in Denmark. It's a lot more fun. So, Patrick, where you start in Iberia?
Yeah, I usually go Basque because I like Basque County and it's also, I think that you can transition from, in CK3 anyway, you can transition from tribal to feudalism quite early.
Well, there you go. It's all about this. Or I go Ireland too, because it's fun to unite it and then watch England kind of fall apart. The tables have turned. So let's talk about those trades, because trade deadline tomorrow, the Montreal Canadiens have been quiet, very quiet. We like the Gurianov deal, but tonight we saw Joel Edmundson. I don't want to. It's kind of mean when you talk about health, but it felt so like the Canadians were taking a picture. You know those old kidnapping pictures, like where you'd have to have a newspaper and you're like, yeah, I'm alive.
Yeah.
Look, it really felt like they're on display. And today, I'm going to go up and find the quote. I think it was Trizak that put it in here. But here's what he said post-game, thanks to Trizak. Joel Edmundson, we got a good thing going here, and I want to be a part of the process, so I told the team I want to stay. But it's a business, so whatever happens, happens. To me, and again, just assuming, but I don't mind making an ass out of you and me, that's him saying, I don't want to get traded, and management saying, you're getting traded.
Yeah, and also maybe saying, you're coming back.
There's that. Well, don't forget, they have a year left, though, so that's the other part. I think, believe it or not, there's teams that see that extra year as a bonus because it's cost certainty. Right?
Yeah.
So next year, like for example, like it's too late now, but at one point Washington had one player assigned on defense next year. A lot of teams want that cost certainty. Do you think Joel Edmundson will go tomorrow? And if so, what kind of return would you expect for him?
I think he will go. I think this was a perfect. It turned out. I mean, like as you said, it was a ransom picture at the start, but with Barron going out, I think it was it turned into a showcase rather. And we all saw the same kind of Edmundson that we have expected him to be. Yeah. Stable, a little bit of a stupid penalty in the second period, end of the
Yeah, but they don't call those in the playoffs, so it's fine.
No, exactly. And it's fine. But I think most people will be more interested now than they were before, because now he's played a full game with actual full game, not just like 2 minutes here and there.
Yeah.
So I think that was, a bonus in a way. Mm-hmm. What to get back? If I mean, market is crazy, and you see the way that especially the East is loading up on everything.
Yeah, but that's a good opportunity for a team in the West, no? Like,
yeah, but
I'm wondering why is no one taking their chance in the West?
Yeah, because I guess they expect Avalanche to go through when everyone comes back healthy. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think it's if you get a second, maybe 2 seconds, as the old Lars Eller deal.
Yeah, well,
you take that.
I was just okay. That's crazy that you mentioned him, because I was just going to mention to David here, who he says he's talking about Denmark, the home country, and he's talking about obviously Freddie Anderson and Nick Ehlers. Yeah. There was also a certain Lars Eller who is on his way to Colorado to play with another one of our favorite players, Artturi Lehkonen. And yeah, I'm with you. It's going to be the Avalanche show in the West, but I'd still give it a shot if I'm on the bubble there, because if you make it through the West, it's one series.
Yeah, but and if you think about it, you spoke earlier, you want Suzuki and Caufield to do, get a shot at it again.
Yeah,
and Edmonton needs to do that with a certain McDavid.
It's crazy how little support. I mean, listen, I'm. Well, actually, we're both getting to be old farts. You pull it off with the professor look. I still wear hoodies to try to get away with it. Hello, my fellow youths. But yeah, back in the day, we'd actually have for guys like Edmundson, you'd actually see a market that would be going crazy. I think teams now are actually getting a little wise to the underlying. So getting 2 second-round picks back, just okay. I would probably push for a first-round pick from a team, like you say, like Edmonton, because back in the day, guys like Gretzky was surrounded with talent. Yeah, Yeri Kurri, you had Marc Messier. Like, there's so much talent around Gretzky. I know there was no salary cap, but the idea that they're letting McDavid and Draisaitl just drag the rest of the team it feels like such a wasted talent.
So and especially they haven't really had any defense, right? Or goalies.
Well, they got Brett Kulak, who gifted Lane Hudson before leaving, so that's worth something,
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but I think that you at sooner or later you need them to get a chance. At least take a look at Toronto. They're going all in this year or next year. Otherwise, it's gone.
But what? You want to take a ride on the river? You got to go down to the riverboat. I love that the NHL is finally figuring it's not as fun as the NBA yet, but teams are going for it, man. It's about damn time.
But I think we, with the deadline, having not seen as much of Edmundson as maybe they wanted, they got a good first look. I think two second rounders would be good. You find some good gems in the second round,
especially this year.
Yeah.
Casey Lee saying like to get a 2024 first. Hey, that is not a terrible idea either, because there's a lot of teams that will want to hold on to their 2023 really good draft. And for the Canadiens, they're open. They already have 2 picks this year in the first round, so they're open to staggering their picks further down the road. And that helps for everything from development to just contracts. So a 2024 pick wouldn't be too bad either. Hey, we have 70 people live right now, which is actually more than I've had sometimes. Because these
half of Europe is awake.
I know. Like we got the superstar Patrik in here, so we got people from Denmark, we got people from everywhere, all around the world, Taiwan, Kelowna. So we're going from coast to coast, back into Europe, into Asia. Let me know where you are in the chat, and I just appreciate all of you. I want you to know, seriously, I wouldn't tune in for me, so I'm really glad that you're here with us. Okay, so you think he's gonna go 2 seconds? Yeah, it makes sense to me. What about a guy, and you mentioned him earlier, David Savar, because you don't hear his name a lot, but
I'm not sure. I'm not impressed by his season, really.
Okay, it's a good skater though. I mean, or no,
yeah,
not speed wise. Just he looks good when he skates.
Yeah. But as you mentioned as well, people are starting to look at those underlying numbers, and his underlying numbers aren't that good from what Jason Paul usually puts out. One of my good friends in Kenya, he probably on the chat as well, or catching in later. I'm unsure. If you get something for him, I'll probably take it.
Right? Yeah. Okay.
But I don't think you get something for him.
See, and he's actually, who is funny, because he never gets compared to him, but in the locker room, he's just like PK Subban. Like, he keeps things fun. He keeps things exciting. Yeah, like once in a while, you'll be like, okay, calm down a little bit, like I have a hangover or whatever. But he's actually just a great person in the locker room in terms of the energy he brings and his desire to win. When we talk about mentors, he really fits the role more than other guys on this team. It's not just because you're old.
And I think that's what we thought about him from the start, right? We didn't think Matheson would be that. We thought David Savar would be. So
yeah. Well, there you go. No, Paper Dolls, I'm not going to be nice to your friend. Hey, we got people from Texas as well. Where in Texas, though? Because that's the man.
Everything is bigger in Texas.
Well, that's not true. I went there, and unfortunately, that's not true. But I don't know. So, you mean the stuff in Texas? Okay, but no, it's just funny when you go from, let's say, Austin to Houston. There, like, it's like, wow, this is the same state. This is impressive. Yeah. But I have fun when I'm down there. Okay, Alyssa asks. This is a good one too. I think there's a chance on this one. What about a Jonathan Drouin trade? Because you're looking at a guy that you're probably gonna keep 50% of his salary. Mm-hmm. And great value on the third line and second power play unit. You know where I see him? I see him with our friends Lars Eller and Artturi Lehkonen in Colorado. I just don't know if they'd be willing to do it, but do you think Drouin will move?
I think, he's that gem that you might, because look at his assists. Look at his understanding of the game.
His numbers are actually decent.
Yeah, and I like the fact that, even with the Stanley Cup final, he still continued to take care of his health issues and mental health. Fair play to him. I wish him all the best. If I was Colorado and had something to offer, I'd probably, make that trade happen. I think the teams in the East are probably done. That's how I feel.
Or it's just getting started, when these things get out of control.
Yeah, exactly. Like it is either or. It's not going to be a
JJ
slow...
Crump in our chat here is saying Ottawa's tapped out. Yeah, I would think so. And I love what Olivia and Anna Melnick are doing. They're just opening up the coffers, letting Pierre Dorion invest. And that's all it takes, right? But I heard Ottawa's
and then you
not
have
done.
Like Tampa. He would probably be a good fit at Tampa as well,
You know what? That would actually be pretty. That'd be pretty interesting. I mean, for me, all I really want.
And they know what they would get as well.
Right,
That's what I'm saying.
You're gonna at best you're getting a 4th, 5th round pick, but I think ideally, I just want to see him in a situation where he's happy playing hockey again. Because as you mentioned earlier, you know, the mental health talk, it's beyond important. And we noticed that we still need to do a lot better job at it. I mean, I'll tell you one story. When I was at development camp, I had a member of the media who doesn't really show up a lot, but anyways, they sat down beside me and they're like, oh, look, then they start talking about Jonathan Drouin. There was a bit of a snide comment. And I was like, oh no, well, you know, he's looking good. He's healthy. I had a chat with him. And they started insulting him. So like, it's not, and it's not anyone in the Montreal market, so you don't have to worry about that. But I felt the level of disrespect there. And there's just like an underlying hatred here that's never going to go away. And some of it, sure, I understand some frustration, but it's beyond the point of repairing in Montreal, right? So whether or not they trade him at the deadline, I want to see Jonathan Drouin happy. That's all I really want to see. Like, he's genuinely a good guy. Bad injury luck, but the thing that matters most is the mental health.
He will continue his career if it's in NHL, SHL, NLA. I can see him go to NLA. You know, like to Switzerland. Yeah. Short travels, good time with the family, good money making. Speaking a bit of French as well. You know, I can definitely see that happening.
And wouldn't that be a rough life, playing in like Ambry Priota? So is that the one? That's where they have half the rink is open, right?
Yeah, but that's also the crap team, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, we all know Patch Reddy.
You go to Davos, to that cathedral, the wooden cathedral.
Yeah. There you go. Okay, so I predict he's going to go, though. If any deal, I think he's the one that's going to go. But how about this guy? Because he didn't play tonight, but he might be the Canadiens' most valuable trade chip, and that is Monsieur Sean Monahan. There are teams that can afford him. The Canadiens can retain. He's on long-term injury reserve, but they can still trade for him. Do you think that...
Arizona has tapped out as well.
Pardon me?
Arizona has tapped out as well.
Sorry. Do you think honestly, though, that a team would take a shot at him? Because I honestly think at this point, he hasn't played since December 5th, man. Like, how do you invest in that? You know what I mean?
That's the problem, really. Do you invest in that? You would have to have some very good inside information, and I'm not sure that, you know, first and foremost. So you probably look at teams where he's been before, or where, you know, people that know him from before privately or within those teams are today. That's what I would think.
It's just too risky if you want to add a big piece, you know.
The thing is, though, Montreal could probably, you know, let him go. I think you probably ask more for Drouin, but you know, you can retain, maybe get a round higher, so you get a 5th round, 4th round. But you're not going to break the bank to get him.
Which is unfortunate, because that seemed like it was pretty much guaranteed. So if you don't sign Jonathan Drouin or Sean Monahan, if you don't trade him, wow, I did really good in that sentence. Si tu n'échanges pas, if you do not trade Sean Monahan, do you try to re-sign him?
I don't know.
28.
You know, he was good when he played. Yeah, he was good when he played. I liked him.
He changed the complexity of the entire team.
Yeah. So the question is, what is he worth? What is he willing to sign for? What are the options for other teams, etc.? It comes down to that. You know, you put a limit. You probably do the old Marc Bergevin. You know, with the Russians, with Markov and
Radulov,
and say this is the number, or with
call me.
Yeah.
Call me maybe.
Yeah, exactly. And you play Carey
Perry
at the background, you know.
Yeah. Hey man, you know what? That's a great song. I don't care. I don't even care. When Marc Bergevin said his whole thing about buy a dog, the loyalty thing, he wasn't calling them dogs, right? He was actually saying it's a business, and I understand why if they don't accept my offer. But and I don't want to become a Marc Bergevin apologist, but that was one that he took a hit on that he probably shouldn't have.
He should probably have thought about how it sounded before he said it.
Oh, big time. And listen, to me, Radulov was actually good to let him go, let's be honest. Markov, I felt like that was just insulting to, and I consider Andrei Markov a team legend, right? I mean, second in all defensive points. If Larry Robinson didn't exist, Markov would be number 1 in every single category for defensemen, you know? It's just unfortunate that his teams were pretty shit poor while he was here, and he had 50 knee surgeries. But when there felt like there was some disrespect with Markov, the way he just said it, he was like, well, whether he signs it or not, I don't care. That was a little, but that has changed. That has changed with guys like Kent Hughes. So I wouldn't be surprised if they can't move Monahan. They say next year, we're giving you all the bonus, all the goodies, all the candy that we can give you, power play time, get your numbers up, then sign that big contract. Because we have to remember with Sean Monahan is that I don't know how many contracts he has left. So if you sign a 4-year deal, you're pretty much eating up the rest of his good years. So he needs to boost his numbers. That would be the way I would go about it. Amy,
either that or you go a 2-year contract with and promise him everything and try to you have got 2 deadlines to trade him.
There you go. Yeah, because stability is always great too. Okay, Trzak is apparently Call Me Maybe isn't even one of Carly Rae Jepsen's top 5 songs. So
no, right. I'm sorry to hear that.
Geez, my bad. To all the what is it? What would they be like? Carly Rae Fanics, or I don't know what the nickname would be. Something that I surely don't understand. But we apologize to Carly Rae Jepsen Nation.
Shall we go on to Europe, or do you want to continue to talk about possible trades like on an?
Well, there's one more I want to talk about. No, I was just looking at the chat because actually Vincent Tardif here mentions they already won the Monahan trade, and you know what? That's true too. Like we're getting really greedy talking about a second pick out of them, but they already got a first rounder. So okay, last guy before we get to Euro prospects, Christian Dvorak, center. Probably better than his numbers look. He's been great lately. Good on faceoffs, can play penalty kill. Long contract, but do you think there's a chance that he moves?
Nope.
Perfect. All right, moving on to European prospects. I like that. Nice and quick.
Babe.
So, yeah, well, Julien mentions here, Julien Ayer in the chat, enough with the injured players. Like, hey, I'm big on giving them privacy when it comes to injuries and health because that's just the way it goes. But you have to review the whole system. I mean, they could have bought a Groupon for shoulder surgeries this year and it would have saved them a lot of money. So hopefully if Justin Barron needs a shoulder surgery, they know a guy. But there's something off with the Canadiens' health this year. So, like the chat, subscribe, or else again, Steve Dangle takes away all my stuff. He takes away my pillows. I have to sleep on like the ground. Exciting players out there, and one of my favorite guys. I think I might be a little higher on him than most. But Adam Engstrom, man, wow, silky smooth skater, creativity through the roof, great vision. Am I overhyping this guy? I have him right now in the Canadiens' top 5 prospects. I have Lane Hudson, we have Riley Kidney, Sean Farrell, and then I actually have Engstrom 4th. Am I overhyping this guy?
No, I think people don't realize how good he is because he never played in hockey yet, unlike Mayu. So I think that's part of it. But no, jokes aside, I think he's very, very good. I think, most of us, and me included, learned a little bit of a lesson with the flashiness of Mattias Norlinder. Obviously, there were injuries along the road for Norlinder as well. He had all the potential. The way they handled Norlinder was probably not the best way either.
Well, and let's be honest, at that last year, that concussion, I think it took it out of him. And at camp this year, you could tell he wasn't, well, this is assuming and it's not great, but he didn't look comfortable talking to the media, so that was... No.
And like I've heard quotes from other media that were not particularly well spoken. And I think he was guarded. He didn't want to let anything slip that could be misunderstood, Right. So I think everyone has tempered their expectations when it comes to puck-moving defensemen. I think that's part of it. Then obviously, Rögle has had a really bad year this year. They're struggling to get into the playoffs, which is
okay. I was going to say like relegation, because every time I look, it's usually a 2-goal loss. But okay, yeah. So were they supposed to be a playoff team for sure?
They were. I had them top 4 before the season started, and now they're 10th, right? I think they're 10th after last night's games.
Jeez, they collapsed like the Leafs in the playoffs. Wow.
No, it's the fact is they won the Champions Hockey League last year. And it's more the fact that when you win a title in Europe, you lose quite a good group of players. And you got to start a rebuild every year, more or less, because it's different because you have these out clauses for Switzerland, for NHL.
Okay.
So people leave, and you have short contracts because you rarely bind someone up for 8 years,
Like just kind of like Engstrom. So people were asking a lot when you mentioned him, is he coming over next year? No. And that's a good like, so his extension he signed a 1-year extension this year, but he already has a contract and he's signed until next year, right? That's the situation.
He signed for next season as well. So he could come over and try to make the team. I would
Do you think they're even
against it.
Do you think that's worth it? Like I like the idea of leaving him, slow and low, let the beat flow. To quote the great poets, the Beastie Boys. Like,
obviously, he's going to be over for. He's going to be over for Dev Camp, and I think that's going to be, because the problem was that Matthias Norlinder was never over for Dev Camp either. So they needed to bring the new shiny toy over at one point or another.
Yeah.
So I think he will definitely go for Dev Camp, and he loves hockey. He loves ice. I mean, like one of the quotes he gave me 2 weeks ago. Is it 2 weeks ago? Valentine's Day. Anyway, Valentine's Day. I had a date with Engstrom. That's who I had a date with.
Will there be a second date? Lowered expectations.
No, but I think the what he said. I love being here in Ängelholm. They have 3 ice sheets. I can practice whenever I want.
Oh, that's what you meant by he loves ice. I'm like, what? Like, because I had a Rottweiler that loved ice, but I wouldn't necessarily put him on my blue line. There are polar bears that loves ice as well, but he is a rink rat. He watches videos. He practices with the A team, with the pro team. He practices with the under 20 team. He takes some different approaches with the under 20 team's defensive coach. He does all these extra things, and it's a culture. Maurice Seider benefited from it. Take a look at him when he left AHL, went to Rögle, and he's arguably the best defender I've seen in SHL for the last 20 years. Well, I was looking at under 20 stats, and we have to get Seider out of there because he ruins every single thing I'm trying to. His numbers were just through the roof, but Engstrom was hitting close to what Hedman. And I'm not saying he's Victor Hedman, and I'm not saying he's Eric Brandstrom, but he's getting the same amount of points at the same amount of age with probably slightly worse usage. I mean, what is it? 8 points in his last 10 games? This guy is
something like that. Something like that. But he's a smart guy. I like his hockey IQ. I think that is the best way. I remember Roger Rönnberg speaking about Norlinder, saying he needed to teach him when to go and when not to go. Engstrom doesn't need that. I think Engstrom was also very underrated in his draft year. He was obviously playing behind the Lekkernmäki, Erland, the Djurgården guys that went early. And then he had another Djurgården defender next to him in that under 20 team that was, crazy good. So I think, people lost track of what did he bring to the team, and he brings a lot. And then you have that other thing that Engstrom has in spades. You give him, we have this saying in Sweden, you give him the finger and takes the whole hand. I don't know how you can translate that. Like little finger.
Weirdly sexual, man. Not gonna lie to you.
Like the main finger, but you give him the little finger and he takes the whole hand.
Okay.
And he does that. You saw it. I think it was for us following European hockey. We saw it during the fall in Rögle, where they couldn't keep him out of the lineup really. But I think for most people, he went in to the World Juniors as a under, probably fourth, fifth defender. At the end, he was the support role for Axel Sandin Pellikka, who's going to go top 10 in this year's draft. And he should probably have played even more than he did. But he was used second most of the team, if I remember correctly, in the medal rounds.
He was one of the highest rated defensemen, with Lane Hudson at the World Juniors. So that's So I think he's always stepping into the moment, into the spotlight, and you can't force him out. It's very difficult, and I think that is you talk about grit, you talk about showing up and everything, but that is probably a very underrated that you don't really think about. You can't keep him out. That's incredible. I know Rögle loves him. That's obviously why they signed him for another year. I wouldn't bring him over for rookie camp. Definitely have him for dev camp. But I wouldn't even stress about. I would tell him, hey, we're bringing you over, but we're don't even worry about making the team. If you somehow surprise everyone, sure. But I like what's happening. I like
The thing is, when you see it with Heinemann, as we're probably going to talk about in a couple of minutes, but you bring them over, and when they come back, and Heinemann and Norlinder was injured, but it takes them about 2 weeks. I spoke with the Pelicans, and when Ilonen was there, it takes them about 2 weeks to get back into proper training, like sense. Time difference, the food they've been eating, everything like that. They need to get acclimated and time, everything. So
it's called
it is in full swing at the time of rookie camp.
Circadian rhythm is the word that I was looking for there, but your body has a time clock, and that and it actually, you can tell when teams from the East go to the West, their circadian rhythm means they're performing at 7 o'clock. At 10 o'clock, it's a lot harder. So going across the globe is slightly more complicated.
Yeah, and in KHL they have 8 hours of time difference, and I know they actually just stay on the European side when they go to Vladivostok and stuff like that. So
I remember seeing some of the stories from, and just hearing some of the women that were playing in the CWHL at one point. They started playing with Kunlun, and it's it takes a lot. But so in my opinion, you leave them there, right? You don't even worry, you don't stress. Leave them in with a Rogel.
And I mean, like, who if you take out of these, is it worth sacrificing part of the season for him, development season as well?
No.
When you have all these really good young defenders there anyway.
And you have until 2025 or 2026 to sign them. Like, let's be honest. The Montreal Canadiens have a long history of anything. It's kind of rushing guys into spots they shouldn't be. So I'm glad to see a guy like Engstrom just developing well.
And Norlinder lost his place on the power play unit. We have the old Sebastian Kohlberg. They brought him over as well. Obviously, it was a different regime at that time. But he lost his place on the power play unit to a certain Andreas Jonsson, who then lost it to a certain Arthur Lekkonen. So,
what you're talking with Frölunda?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think Lekkonen ended up doing pretty good on that power play, if I remember correctly.
And so did Jonsson as well. But I'm saying, like, Kohlberg was supposed to be
you need the usage to produce. Well, that's my question coming up with Engstrom next year. Is he going to get good usage? Is he going to, is there a chance for him to get better usage next year?
Yeah, definitely. Okay. Wallinder is going over, and he's playing second round.
He's his biggest threat, right? He's like a year older version of Engstrom, maybe a little more polished. Yeah,
but I'm quite sure that Wallinder is going across, and there are some other players probably. What really is good with Engstrom right now is that he's getting usage on the second power play unit. He's getting more and more reps on his right side. Okay. So he doesn't play right wing or right defender as much. He plays left more and more. So he is maturing into that player where you want to see him down the line. And Cam and Chris Abbott are one GM and one coach I really, really trust.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it's not, I mean, when you quote Ronberg, that's someone I trust, who I want to see at one point. You're telling me there's other good coaches, but I want to see Ronberg in the NHL. I think it's absolutely.
The one thing you're going to see Cam Abbott in NHL down the line. I'm sure about that.
It's ridiculous that we don't tap into either European coaches or women. Like we're completely ignoring huge swaths of intelligent coaches.
But I think the one that you really should have gone for is Sam Hallam. I did an interview with him, one of the first in the Coaches Challenge series that I did. And I hopefully continue. He's now the national team coach in Sweden. Give him those 3 years that he signed for, and then you just grab him to the NHL.
It blows my mind that we don't have more European coaches coming over. Okay, so Engstrom, again, people talk about Lane Hudson, but to me, Engstrom's
he will be the support to Hudson in a way.
Yeah, exactly. And it's okay that Hudson's taking all the hype. Engstrom gets to just kind of do his own thing in Europe. Okay, we're running late because it's 2 a.m. here. What time is it over there? Is it 8 a.m. yet?
8 a.m.
I can see that the background's getting clearer and clearer. Is it a nice day over there?
Yeah, and hopefully the road ears come in here in the garden in a few days or in a few hours.
All right, and then one day
my cat is outside watching the or in the on the patio.
Is there good ice fishing around there? I'd like to do some ice fishing.
We don't get ice here, Matt. It's Mark. It's unfortunately there's good fly fishing though on the coast.
Hey, Fly fishing is all right with me. I did it once in Canmore, Alberta, and it was the best time ever.
We'll take you out when you come over.
Well, first we got to go to London, North London, real quick.
I don't know that. You know, used to live there.
I know. I got to watch my Arsenal team. Okay, so actually, Vincent, real quick, Tardif. Sorry, just Tardif. All of a sudden, he's my buddy from school. There. Hey, Tardif asked because we talked about this before we went on the air, but I mean, Dmitry Kostenko, KHL. Like, he was a 3rd round pick, and he's probably the most unknown guy. Is there like, we'll keep it quick. Is there anything there, you think? Like, what are the odds?
I spoke with his national team coach or the under-20 coach, and he's obviously in that same group as Mishkov and all the other super talented Russian guys. And he said he needs to think the game faster. That was a year and a half ago.
Okay, so the computer isn't quite up to date yet. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's a bad sign for prospects.
Yeah, I think that's... And Kulun is really where, you know, I spoke with Gillian Kemmerer still every now and then, and we all both agree, and she's obviously the best source, or used to be the best source for Russian hockey. I know she's writing a book. Give her a shout out, even if she's not.
Hey, well, because I was going to ask, well, I don't know if it's, but she's been curiously away from Twitter for a little while.
Yeah, she got a lot of heat from for working for SKA when the war broke out.
Fair enough. Okay, well, we're not going to jump into that. But
the story she has to tell about her escape from St. Petersburg, I'm not going to spoil it, but yeah.
Fair enough. Fantastic. Okay, yeah. Because I was worried because the war broke out and she kind of just disappeared. You know, it was kind of a little bit worrisome. Yeah.
Yeah. And she, we both agree that, you know, Kulin is a place where contracts go to die. It's a little bit like Arizona.
It's the Coyotes, the Kunlun Coyotes and the Arizona Red Star. Okay. Well, I mean, I've watched.
Hopefully, you know, he proves me wrong. I'll be honest with that.
Perfect. Hey, man, that's a caveat for all. I love when these guys prove us wrong. Okay.
Yeah.
One guy that, you know, it's funny because you were saying for the show that I was quite high on him, but this year I've kind of dropped my stock, and that started in at the World Juniors. I wasn't impressed by him whatsoever, and that is Oliver Kapanen. So, what's the deal? What's going on? I mean, I've noticed lately his production's going up. He seems a little bit more engaged. It's tougher for me to watch him, but I just have a hard time seeing his skill set translate to the NHL.
I think he's and I said this before as well, and I spoke with some of the pro scouts in Sweden about him. Mm-hmm. He is a little bit like Lucas Vedemo, probably more skilled, less physical.
Yeah.
I love Lucas is about to start playing in Sweden again. So shout out to Big Luke.
Real quick, Lucas Vedemo was one of the nicest. When I was in Laval, he was one of the only guys I talked to. And man, such a good guy. Honestly, genuinely.
A gentleman and a scholar.
Yeah, absolutely. Exactly. To quote Mr. Shakespeare. So, because a lot of scouts are telling me it's just he doesn't have that next level and he can't think, you know, maybe process it quick enough to really get to
and comparing him partly that and he's a center. He is a shutdown center probably more than a scoring center.
A lot like Vedemo.
You could probably move him to wing and make it decent. His numbers are similar to Ilonen's in his draft plus 2 years. He has 0.5 per game. Ilonen had 0.41.
Who was Ilonen playing for though?
Yeah, Ilonen was playing for Pelicans, who was a bottom 2 team at that time. Whereas Kapanen is playing for a top 5 team in Liga. So you have to take that into account as well. I think I wrote an article in Ilonen's D plus 2 year where he had gone from being part of 20% of the goals scored for Pelicans to about 40.
Okay.
If I remember the numbers, those are 3 years old numbers. I don't, you know, I'm getting older as well. So I think, unfortunately, the potential is there. In some ways, I can definitely see him become another, you know, Joni Ikonen kind of player. He will maybe
with better knees there, or not better knees, but with fewer injuries.
But I mean, like Joni's playing now, and
is he good?
Yeah, and he's having a career in Europe.
I'm so happy.
Or in Finland right now, at least.
Yeah,
and you know, he's earning his mint. He's having a hockey career, and not all of us can say we have that. So
hey, I was the 2-time Gloucester, Ontario. What do you call it there? Hockey without skates. I can't even think of the word right now. There, street hockey, scoring champion from age 8 to 10, and I played in Blackburn. Okay, so some of us had.
and I look like Bambi on ice, like
there we go.
So I'm out of it as well.
You know what's crazy? I'm going ice fishing soon. I'm bringing my nephew to teach him how to skate, and I haven't skated I haven't skated since I moved to Montreal, which is pretty. I used to in Ottawa. We had the canal. I would skate to work. But now none of that. Okay, we're running a little bit long. It's 53 minutes now. We're almost at an hour. Let's get to, and I always pronounce it improperly apparently, but I always call him Heinemann. How is he doing? Because he impressed a lot at Dev Camp. I think he had a slow start going back.
He's a little bit like Kapanen. He's scoring in batches.
Is he just scoring against like weaker opponents? Or
no, he scores a lot against Malmö, which is obviously the bottom team in Sweden. But he also scores against good teams or assists against good teams.
Oh, by the way, Locked On Sharks. I know you did a podcast with them recently. They're in the chat. They're saying, "How's it going, Patrik?"
Yeah, well, I'm all fine. Thank you for having me.
It's almost 9 a.m. over there, so we gotta be easy. Okay, so because
but I think I've also looked a lot at, and I'm starting to like him more and more. I don't see the comparison with Lekkonen at all. I'll be honest with that.
I mean, let's be honest. That was they're both European. Like it's like when people were comparing Emelin to Romanov. You know what I mean? Like, okay, they're both Russian, but that's about it.
Yeah. I think he has potential. The forechecker, the greater line, like cheese grater line.
Yeah.
Something like that. And he's a Josh Anderson kind of player again. He has plateaued a little bit, but also he hasn't been used as well in Leksand maybe as he should have.
Okay.
He's used in the bumper position or closer to the net present position on the second power play unit. Mm-hmm. He's on the third line.
So
the thing I see with Heinemann is his defensive work, and I was speaking to some hockey consultants, former and AHL players, pro scouts, etc. When I've been out on the tour again, as my missus used to call it, and they all say this, like the question. His play probably suits the NHL or North American sheets.
He's got a hell of a shot.
He's got a hell of a shot as well. But on the other hand, since he ends up being defensively insecure, maybe, or
a bit
not
of a liability,
as astute as you had hoped. It's smaller ice to cover in North America, obviously.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, the game goes faster. So it's a trade-off there, and you don't know which is good or bad for him. So it comes down to that in many ways. We'll have to see. I expect him to at least have a full year in AHL. I know a lot of people are penciling him in to go to the NHL next year. I'm not. Yeah,
but I mean, at Dev Camp, it was a nice revelation. I was going to say relevation, but he looked good. I mean, good speed. He was probably one of the best players at Dev Camp, so I think that brought up his stock.
He's also protected a little bit. He's being played more in neutral and offensive zone, so it's all that as well. But I like him. I like him as a person as well. He's also very nice. Speaks very good English.
Yeah. And he's just an intriguing prospect. I just don't know how to really gauge him. Okay, so someone in the chat actually. Finish up. My bad.
No, I think it's going to be an interesting year. I have a bet obviously with Anton Rosegård that says that he won't play 20 NHL games, and Anton has that he will play more. So we'll see who buys the other one.
I might trust Anton's pretty smart though. I mean, I don't know.
I'm not. I'm betting against Anton, obviously, but he's a smart guy, so I'll probably end up buying the dinner anyway.
We got asked about Alexander Gordon, Gordon. I'm going to say it in French there. So he was a 6th-round pick in 2020. The thing is, he was absolutely ripping up the MHL at one point, St. Petersburg. And now he went to KHL. I think he's back in...
He's in Sochi or in Rostov in VHL,
right? So can his skating, and real quick, because I mean, he's like the guy that... okay, there you go. That's the answer. No, okay. Because he's the Pierre Dagenet. Amazing shot, can't skate. Like, he just can't skate. So that's never going to change.
I mean, like, if he's in VHL right now, he's not going to become he's barely going to become a KHL player.
Okay.
I'm really happy for him because he's in DHL, so he's not going to get drafted into the army, and that's good for him. There is a certain other player that took his place, or the potential place that he had in the Sochi, where he didn't work out, so they sent him to Rostov.
Yeah.
Is now a certain guy. I don't know if you heard about him, Matvey Michkov.
No.
He's playing there.
I'll say this about Michkov is that I know there's a lot of things to consider, real world factors, but I think he has number one overall talent in the last 10 drafts compared to most guys. Like I would almost, no, I'm getting silly. It's almost 3:00 in the morning here. I was gonna say he almost has like some more elite skills than Bedard, but not the overall game.
I think it was Locked on Sharks. And hi again, guys. They asked me like, who will have the lowest floor but highest ceiling, or becoming, if it's not Bedard, who is going to be the NHL star? And I said, I literally butchered Michkov before, and then when I got that question, I was like, it's going to be Michkov. We all know that.
his production, and I mean, we're talking about KHL production, is absolutely through the roof.
And look at the goals he's scoring as well. I mean, like in his national team debut against Sweden, against arguably one of the best European goalies in Europe, obviously, Lars Johansson, he does the Michigan.
Right?
It's on his national team debut with the pro national team.
I love that. And you know what? The fact
and
that
I was standing, I'll be honest, I was standing with Trevor Timmins at the time and watched it because we were at the under-20 tournament, and I said, look at this. Can we be bad next year?
Well, shout out.
And then he was fired 2 weeks later.
You know what's the funniest thing? I left him alone, Trevor Timmins, all the time. In the playoffs at one point, he just came up and he's like, hey, he came up to me because I tried to leave the players and I was working for the Canadiens at the time. And all I could think of the whole time is that we've both lived in Renfrew, and all I could think about was how much I hated Renfrew. I don't know why it was going through my mind, but he spoke to me for the first time during the playoffs. Obviously, it's pretty exciting. Canadiens were in the final. And then, that was it. That was it for Trevor Timmins. Okay, so we have one last guy to talk about. And then before we go, I want to talk about Leo Carlsson, but Petteri Nurmi, because he was the guy that when he arrived in Montreal Dev Camp, I was like, geez, this guy's skating is great. His
hockey IQ is great.
Yes, exactly. I just don't know about his positioning, his gap control. You don't get a chance to see a lot of defensive play. But what's your read on Nurmi? We don't hear much about him over here.
I like him. I spoke with one of my Finnish colleagues who said prior to the season that he might push for a roster spot on one of the national team in the small tournaments and the European tournaments that we have here. He hasn't been able to do that properly. He was injured a little bit. I like the pick from Canadiens because you can clearly see a positive trajectory, and I think that trajectory has continued this year. I think he will obviously go to AHL next year. I think he will be very interesting to follow, but it's a very, very smart pick. I think it's a really good pick because you don't have to find other teams for him now. You got 4 years to sign him.
Exactly.
Because he's from Europe. You can even leave him another year in HPK if you want to, or with another Finnish team. If
I was going to ask how, because they're usually a pretty strong program, right? A pretty strong.
HPK is not that strong. There are others around that are better.
Okay.
But I mean, like they're having a good season. So I mean, like the fact that we spoke about it with Hadi Kalakesh on one of the other shows that I was part of, or Eyes on the Prize shows, and you're gonna see probably more and more picks like that in the 6th and 7th round, which are overagers, but you have a positive trajectory.
Yeah.
And it's a smart move because they are more predictable than an 18-year-old.
Oh, that first year is where they're either going to fall off the rails or you're right. So that there's maybe the ceiling isn't quite there as high as it could be, but the baseline is much higher.
Yeah, and you got more data to compare it to. Yeah. You probably watched a few more games, and more of you have watched more games because you watch it on YouTube as well, or you get a DVD or video file that you watch, right? So I think it's a very smart pick. I'm not sure it's going to pan out. It could be another Wiedemann.
I mean, it's a 7th rounder, right? Like, that's where you take flyers on. That's where I would, take all my European and NCAA goalies 7th round. That's where you. That's
and you in 6th and 7th round, you take the Europeans and the NCAA players because you got 4 years on them.
Bingo, bango, Django. Okay, so and the last most exciting prospect. How's Arvid Henriksson doing? Is he doing all right?
I'm sorry to say this, but it's going to be a tough top 25 under 25 this year because Arvid Henriksson will not be penciled in last because his birthday was the other day.
Oh,
and
so
he's aged out.
Okay.
Well, hey, listen, we went fair play to Arvid. I know he's got a sharp mind. So he's gotten a degree out of a hockey career. Oh, yeah. He's probably going to go to Sweden, play hockey Allsvenskan, maybe be able to work that up to an SHL career or a career in Finland.
We wish him nothing but the
Slovakia
best.
And Czechia is coming up as well with good programs and
I always say go to, if you can go anywhere, go to Switzerland. If they're gonna pay for you to live there, first of all, because they pay for the housing for the internationals, I mean that's the way to go. Okay.
And it's the same, with most. It's in Sweden as well. You get a house or you get a flat, and if you want to buy a house, you buy a house, but you get a flat.
But but they have in Switzerland, they have cows with big bells on them.
Yeah,
okay?
that's true. So and they got better chocolate.
Exactly. Well, we only get crap chocolate here. Hey, listen. We said it was gonna be quick. It's been an hour already. It's getting close to 3 a.m. here. You're getting close to the days, the rest of the world waking up around you. I wanted to thank you so much for joining us, Patrik, because it's fascinating. We don't get this information anywhere else, and every time you put something on Twitter, it seems to find its way to other sources that they also discover it 2 days later. So I'm just happy you're getting a little more recognition as one of the best sources for European prospects, and the work is genuinely appreciated because from even before Lehkonen, we were getting all that inside information, so you make me look smart, and that's very, very difficult.
I'm happy to join in, and looking forward to be on before the draft because you wanted to speak Leo Carlson as well, right?
Well, yeah, but he's the other guy. I'm not, we're the. You know what? We'll talk right before the draft. That'll work. In the meantime, thanks to everyone in the chat. Seriously, this is pretty crazy. We have people from all over the world. A heavy European delegation this time, which was great to come see Patrik. We're gonna have our deadline show tomorrow. In the meantime, press, subscribe, all that fun stuff. We really appreciate all of you. Before we go, Patrik, I'd like to give you an opportunity to talk a little bit about what's going on with Habs Eyes on the Prize. So obviously, Vox Media decided to cut all that, but my old stomping grounds will live on. So what's going on with EOTP?
Well, obviously the ninja, Justin Blade, with the blades, maybe we should call him.
God, what a hard worker, eh?
Yeah, and always around. Whenever you don't think he's around, he's around.
Well, no, once I remember, I'm like, where's Justin? I think he was at his farm, saving cows because it had frozen over or something. But other than that, yeah, Justin's always around.
Yeah, and so he's running things. We got a GoFundMe. We're up to 10K more or less. I haven't checked it today.
And they can find this at Habs Eyes on the Prize. It's pinned right up there. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's we're gonna keep the Eyes on the Prize in some way or another. Perfect. We're gonna move it to another platform. We're asking for coverage of the platform fees and some of our fees for salary. For me, it goes directly into the gas tank of my car, so I can go down and do more.
Oh yeah, because you lose money covering hockey. Let's be honest.
Yeah, and but first and foremost, it would get us through to summer and the most exciting prospect series that I think we do in Montreal media in general, and it's top 25 under 25.
That used to be my baby. That was, who started that? That was Bruce Peter, who works for the Leafs now. And then when he handed it off to me, I was just like, "This is amazing. This is my baby." I was so excited. But it gives you a perfect chance to learn more, kind of like we did tonight. So go check out the top 25 under 25.
Yeah, and we're gonna do I think we did an episode each for each of the top 10 last year. So I'm gonna try to make into top 15. This year for the podcast, and so we'll be around.
Good.
We'll make some noise, and hopefully you guys support us there as much as you support Game Over, because you guys are doing an awesome job as well.
Yeah, well, hey, listen, I have a soft spot. It's not just a place for where I got my start. A lot of people always ask, how did you get in? Hey, listen, I was privileged. I had enough money saved up that I could not get paid for a few years, but then I worked 100 hours a week for a few years, and that opportunity Like, for example, we at one point it was we had about 60% women on staff, and I'm not trying to brag here, but it's just we were providing an opportunity that other outlets weren't, and that's the part that hurts me the most. Is that this is kind of like a grassroots, I guess not company, but publication that gives people opportunities. So we don't want that to go away. We're really happy it's staying.
And people of color, people of different backgrounds.
People that wouldn't usually have they don't have the connections that everyone else has in the hockey world, that they go up. So you have to get your start somewhere, and this is one of the rare places where people that weren't privileged could get a start.
And look at the numbers. Look at where players are. Arik is at Colorado as well, right? And
Arik's in
Jack
Colorado.
is doing his stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
We got people with the Athletic.
Absolutely. And then I was with the Canadiens, but now I'm back with Game Over with also Andrew, the Game Over. We had Chris, who's with the Rangers. Jack and Bruce were with obviously the Leafs. We're Toronto. Really lucky to have that kind of that many good people.
So I mean, like there's there, and let's not forget the other guys. Like you have David at Elite Prospect. We got
David St. Louis and Mitch Brown as well, and so many. Yeah. And just when I, for example, just knowing people like Namiko, she's one of my favorite people, and we had so many smart people, Andrea, etc., and obviously Laura. So
and Nathan, come on, you ask Nathan something, and you get
Nathan. He's one of the
anything.
He could have a career in hockey analysis, but I get a feeling he gets paid more to do somewhere else. I believe he's a doctor, right? So
yeah,
okay.
And I think Andrew is writing a book as well. So
have a look out for that. My favorite, one of my top 500 favorite Polish people. I love Andrew, and obviously,
And I mean, like, we're still a team, as you hear. We can never stop talking when we need to.
Exactly. Well, we got to give a shout out to Scott too, and then there's too many people. Jared, obviously.
Yeah.
But that is it for us right now. Tomorrow, there is the live deadline show, and then I'll be back on Sunday. I don't know. Time has lost all meaning. I really don't know. I'm probably going to stay up until the deadline because I'm an insomniac, so I'm not going to be able to fall asleep. But join us for the deadline show tomorrow on Game Over. Just subscribe to SDPN. And in the meantime, merci beaucoup. Seriously, this is amazing how many people actually show up. You're all appreciated. You're all loved. And on behalf of me and Patrik, have a great morning. Or what? What are we going to say here? Hopefully the brunch is good. That's what we're going to say.
Sweet dreams and a good morning, and have a nice lunch and dinner, because we are evenly spread all over the world, probably.
Yeah, so blupper, breakfast, lunch, and supper. Have a good blupper, everyone. And you can find Patrik at on Twitter at Zeb_Habs. Thank you so much for watching. We appreciate all of you. As per usual, à la prochaine fois. We'll see you tomorrow and Sunday. That's it for us at Game Over Montreal.
Game over! Powered by Sports Interact.